Red River with John Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
And John Wayne, again, it's a Moby Dick kind of film. John Wayne is obsessed with getting these cattle to Kansas, and will do anything that he has to do to make it work. And Montgomery Clift is brilliant as his adopted son, who eventually has to turn against him. And of course, I think Montgomery Clift, who seems to be pretty well forgotten these days, but he was right there with Brando and James Dean back in the 50s in terms of method acting, and he was terrific in that film. Just great. But Red River, in spite of having one of the worst endings ever, just hokey as can be, it still has to be seen, as does Hawks's Rio Bravo. So those are the ones. Let me think if I'm leaving anybody out here. I'm sure I am.
Oh,
but those, in terms of film, those are the really essential. Oh, well, my God, Clint Eastwood as a director. He was an important artist as an actor and as a Western director. In the film, the two films that come to mind are The Outlaw Josie Wales in particular, High Plains Drifter as well, which is a very challenging film to watch by today's standards, and then the classic Unforgiven, which was the last Western, and it's 25 years old now, I guess, or maybe even older. It was the last Western to really do just huge. Well, no, I can't say that. Dances with Wolves came along later. Dances with Wolves is a film I don't like much, but because it's very romanticized in many aspects, and but Unforgiven, wow, what a powerful picture that is. And Eastwood, directed in it and acted in it. So Eastwood was a very important Western director.
And what sticks with you from Unforgiven?
I'm sorry, what?
What sticks with, what draws you into Unforgiven?
Well, this is something that comes up in Westerns from time to time, and I think Unforgiven deals with it most effectively of all Westerns. Is every so often someone has to confront pure evil, and the Gene Hackman character is pure evil. And in the way he tortures people, he's a killer, and and as Hackman so brilliantly does. And God, I hope that man is enjoying his retirement in Santa Fe. But he's so good as a blue-eyed, smiling killer, and Hackman can do that so well. And so this thing where the Eastwood character has to confront pure evil, and what do you do when you confront pure evil? So that's what the big takeaway is in Unforgiven. Now, you can't say Eastwood's character is a saint, because really there are no saints. And in my worldview, there is pure evil, but there are no saints. But you have people who, like Eastwood, find it within themselves, Eastwood's character, who find it within themselves to say, okay, I ain't a saint, but this evil has to be confronted and dealt with, and I'm going to do it. And that's what I find so compelling about that film. Cool. It's not a conflict between good and evil. It's a conflict between what has to be done in evil. And so I just find that very interesting. And I think the film is really brilliantly directed by Eastwood, whose politics I don't care for, but he's a hell of a film director.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, the restriction movie for that film, I guess it was done on like a plateau, and I just remember it was cold in that film, you know?
Yeah.
It was cold like it got into you while you were watching it.
Yeah, and it was in Canada where they shot that, right?
I don't honestly remember. I just remember.
I think it was Canada playing the part of Montana, right?
Something like that. But yeah, it was every scene felt cold.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was just something, you know, that's what stayed with me from Unforgiven is it's almost like the hero for me, or what stuck with me, was the landscape.
Yeah.
You know, that, and having to make it against that, you know, there was having to make it in that sort of, realm it was something I got out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a big part of the Western is there's always a conflict between man versus nature. You know, the old thing about there's three kinds of conflict. There's man versus nature, man versus other man, and man versus himself. Mm-hmm. And I think the really intriguing Westerns have all three of those going. But, you know, the nature, and in that case, it's the cold plains up there. And, one of the great Westerns of all time, I would put it maybe second behind, The Wild Bunch, is, Robert Altman's McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Mm. And God, what a brilliant film that is. But it's set in, it's an atypical Western setting. It's set in, Washington State, small town Washington State in the mountains. So there's a lot of rain and snow, and, you know, the last shootout of that, where, Warren Beatty's character dies, it's in a driving snowstorm.
Right, I think isn't the last scene like he's huddled and he just freezes to death? You just know he's gone.
Yep, that's it. That's it. He's been shot, and he can't go on any further. So he just falls back into this huddle and he freezes to death out there. And what a great film that is. And it was done by a director who claimed he hated Westerns.
Who was that?
Robert Altman.
Oh. No, that was, I mean, the image of it stays with both of us.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the death scene of Keith Carradine in that, you know, where he gets shot crossing that rickety pedestrian bridge and falls into this icy water, you know, of this creek during horribly cold, wet weather. And by the way, Carradine said that he took that fall himself into the water. He said it was pretty unpleasant doing that scene. But, he's, what a picture that is. And Julie Christie is just amazing in that as Mrs. Miller. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things I like about that is women had these, you know, limited avenues of survival and making their way. And one of the ways to do it was to you know, be the madam at a whorehouse. And that's what she did. She brought the whores into that town, and she was tough and resourceful, and she was always one up on the Warren Beatty character, you know, McCabe. And that scene at the end, after we have that, we have the scene of her, cuts to her smoking opium and from that pipe, and you see the expression on her face, and you know she knows that McCabe is dead. Mm-hmm. But just that look on her face, what a great actress she is. And of course somebody, you know, our age, I always think of her as a great beauty, of course, and now she's somebody who's older than my mother. And no telling what kind of health she's in. Right. Well, but yeah, she was so good in that picture.
That's what I coach high school baseball, and I see guys, you know, they're 15, 16 years old, and you know, and I just say, well, that she's going to be a grandmother one day, and they're just